Okie dokie. Right, I'm just going to mute you all and I'll mute you, Karen.
Okay. Okay, I'm unmuted.
Okay, so I think there'll be a few more joining that said they were coming, so I'll just let them in as and when they come along.
Yeah, sure. No
So
problem.
welcome to our very own Karen Oliver this evening. It's been probably more than a year since you did a talk here.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, Ghosh has gone out and come back in again. So yeah, Karen's going to be doing the talk today about love, the language of love, and giving us some exercises to do. So I won't, I'll let you explain it because you'll do it justice, and I'll hand it over to you, Karen.
Thank you, Suzanne. Right, I'm going to share my screen. I have some slides, and then at the end we're going to do exercises. So sort of energy exercises, but you'll see. Let me just share my screen first. Okay, let's move that out of the way. Okay, so thank you everyone for coming. I think you all know basically what I do, but just to reiterate, so energy practitioner, coach, healer, and I work with couples on relationships. So I've sort of over the years built up a tool bag of things that I use. So tonight I wanted, obviously on Valentine's night, to share that with you. So good vibrations, living in love. So hopefully you'll learn some techniques to use to help you with relationships. So what does love mean to you? Well, the obvious things: romance, friendship, deep connection, soulmate. But love means something different to everyone. It's a word, but as you can see on my little word group there, whatever you call them, all the different things that make up love. And it's personal to each person as to what love means. And it's a very small word that covers an awful lot. So exploring love. Love is much more than romantic love. Loving one person, obviously that's romantic love, but loving yourself, and we'll move on to that, just love in general for the world, for everything around you. Love is an intention. So when we feel love, because love isn't just a word, obviously it's a feeling, it's an intention. When we do something in love, we are putting out a vibration, an intention that's very different. It is a frequency. I think I'm right in saying, I always say this, I'm never quite sure, but I think it's 500 hertz frequency. So I think 200, am I right, Suzanne, is 200 shame or something like that? I think.
I could pull up it's not, I don't think it's shame, it's guilt and fear.
Guilt and fear, okay. So when you get to 500, you're on the frequency of love, which is a great place to be. So love is also freedom, because when you feel love, when you give off love, it frees you of so many things. It frees you of judgment and criticism. It frees you up to receive love, to give love. And love is healing. When we feel love, it actually heals your body. When we're stuck emotions, it creates dis-ease, and that causes dis-ease. So love is healing. When we can live more in love, it affects us mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, every way. Okay, so self-love. It all starts with self-love. And I've learned through myself, but also through clients, that it's not very easy to truly love anything else until you start to love yourself. And we're not taught that. I think a lot of us are taught to judge, taught to criticize, taught to look for fault, instead of being taught to accept and love ourselves. So when we don't accept and love ourselves, it becomes external. It comes out of everything that we're dealing with, people around us, how we go about life. because we have that judgment going on instead of love. So being able to accept and love ourselves is really key. Self-care is a measure of self-love. So if you look after yourself, eat well, exercise, get sleep, allow yourself to rest, it's all a sign of how much you love yourself. It's a good measure of how much you love yourself. Whereas if you're working all day long, you're not giving yourself a break, you're eating rubbish, you can measure it and say, okay, maybe I need to get some more self-love going, because I think I'm not really looking after myself here. Self-love attracts like a magnet. So we all know people who have self-love. They're so very magnetic, because who wouldn't want that? It attracts you because they're so comfortable in themselves, in their own skin. Self-love improves the immune system, as I said before. Disease, dis-ease. When you don't love yourself, there's a low frequency, there's a disruption going on, and it can start with thoughts, feelings, ends up with symptoms, disease, low immune system. So creating a loving relationship with yourself is really important. Acceptance of self is absolutely key. How you talk to yourself is absolutely key. We tend to give ourselves a bit of a hard time sometimes, the way we talk to ourselves, rather than saying, oh, well, never mind, I'll do better next time. How many of us say, oh, that was so stupid, or even worse, I'm so stupid, oh, I never learn, and I'm an idiot even. Sort of those sort of words have a vibration that bring down your vibration. And even if you say it in jest, it has a frequency. So it's far nicer to say to yourself, oh, well, make light of it. I made a mistake. It's okay. I'll do better next time. So really thinking about how you talk to yourself is important, because everything we say either out loud or in our heads is brainwashing, and it brings down our frequency. Okay, so understanding others' programs. So we're getting to grips with our own self-love, and we're feeling better about ourselves. But these programs run from childhood, and that includes love. So your view of love will be shaped and formed by how your parents were, how people were around you. That will form what you think love is, how love should be acted out. So you'll have certain ideas about how love should be, should on ourselves. So the 5 love languages, Gary Chapman. I love this book. I don't know if you can see, but the book's there, just so you can see it. This is a great book. Now, what it does is it sections out how we view love and how we give love. So what you'll find you tend to do, I know I definitely do this, is you give love how you want to receive love. And you tend to think, well, that's the only way, isn't it? That's how you do love. But it's not. So the 5 love languages separate out the different ways of giving and receiving love. If you do get the book, which I thoroughly recommend, even if you're not in a relationship, this works with friends, relations, because if you understand their love languages, you can get on with them so much better. You can show them love in the way that makes sense to them. And children also, I'll add to that. So the 5 love languages, acts of service. So acts of service are doing things for people. So making a cup of tea, washing the car for your partner, that sort of thing. So that would be one way of showing love. I'm acts of service. I recognize that straight away. So if my husband's not doing something for me, poor guy, I don't expect him to do things all the time, but if he's not doing things, then I'm not feeling the love. That's how I feel the love, is when he does little things for me. I feel that. Gift giving is another one. So it doesn't mean spending lots of money. It can be giving a flower, just going and picking a flower and giving it, or giving a little love poem or something. It's just that act of giving something. So you may recognize these as we go through, but there is a really good quiz in the book, so you can work out what you are. Physical touch, well, that doesn't really need any explaining. My husband's definitely that, because he likes to hold hands and he's always touching, likes to put his arm around me. It's very physical. Quality time, well, you could have one or two of these. So I have two. Quality time's the other one for me. So you want to spend really good time with someone where they're not focused on something else. So for me, if I'm sitting watching telly with my husband, that's not quality time, because he's watching telly and I'm watching telly. I want to turn the telly off and talk. That's quality time. Or go out for a walk. That's what I appreciate. So if I'm not receiving that, again, I'm not receiving love how I perceive it. And the last one, words of affirmation. Well, lots of people need to hear it, and they need to hear that they're loved. They need to hear that someone says that they're wonderful and amazing and all of those things. So if they're not hearing it, they don't feel loved. So if you think about it, if you reflect on that and think about how you react and how you respond to your partner or the people around you, you can probably identify already where they are and where you're at. And think about how you could present it differently, how you could think about doing things in their way of loving. So I've tried to be more touchy with my husband, because he'll go for my hand or cuddle me, and as much as I like that, I don't tend to be the first one to reach out. So I try and do that more often, otherwise it feels like to him it's always him doing that and I'm not, and it's just because it's not my love language. But you can adapt. Like I said, I thoroughly recommend the book, because if you do the quiz and read through it just makes sense. So try it out. So that's love languages. Let's move on. Like judgment and forgiveness. Allowing judgment to prevail in a relationship stops the flow of loving energy. It literally does. So when there's a judgment, your energy retreats. It actually goes internal. And I will talk about a lady later on who's an energy lady, and she talks about this, where you can actually, if you have those, the pictures with the auras, if you had that, you could literally see the energy going inwards when there's judgment and you're feeling defensive. It all comes inwards. Whereas when you're loving, your aura's broad and wide because you're giving. Forgiveness resumes that flow. Now, a lot of people think that forgiveness means you condone what someone does, but it actually lets you off the hook, because forgiveness, if you're holding a grudge, it's you who's holding it. It's your energy. Again, you've brought your energy in. You're not giving. You're not allowing that love. So forgiveness lets you off the hook. It doesn't condone what someone does. You can forgive and still not like what they did. That's okay. Disagreement happens. It is how it's managed that makes the difference. So I don't honestly believe many people who say, I've never had an argument with my spouse, because I think pretty much everyone does. We disagree with different people. That's okay, but it is how you manage it that makes the difference. And I'm going to go on to the next bit, which will sort of help you to look at that. So for life partners, there are 4 horsemen to avoid. Now, this is from a book from John Gottman. And he wrote another book that I have here, which I love, which is The 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work. Great book, really good practical ways of connecting with your partner, or again, with other people. It doesn't have to be your partner. It's about how you create relationships. So the first horseman is criticism, personal judgments. There's a difference between criticism and complaint. So criticism is when you say a statement about the person. So you're actually saying, you're this, you're that, you're lazy, you don't care. You're making statements about the person, whereas a complaint is something about what they're doing or not doing. So if you complain and say, you didn't put out the bin, it's a bit different to saying you're lazy, you didn't put out the bin. So complaints are very different. So criticism is one of those that is the 4 horsemen. And John Gottman says that they have a love lab, and they observe couples in their love lab, and they have a 96% accuracy as to who will stay together and who won't, just based on looking at these four horsemen and how people deal with their relationships. And it's not necessarily the ones who don't argue who stay together, because it's how they deal with it that makes the difference. So the next one's contempt, sarcasm and cynicism, which sort of leads on from criticism. And you'll notice this is all very defensive. And again, your energies are going inwards. And that's the next one, is defensiveness. So they all sort of match in together, a way of blaming. When we get defensive, even if our partner said something to us that we don't like, as soon as we get defensive and we're defending ourselves, we're not allowing that flow anymore. We want to blame. We're making someone wrong. And that, when you do that, if you make someone wrong, you're saying, I'm right, you're wrong. It doesn't really work. And the last one's stonewalling, which is usually after the other three have come in. So you'll get the criticism, the contempt, the defensiveness, and stonewalling is when someone tunes out and turns away. And it's not a good place. You can come back from it, but it's the culmination of the other three, and where the couple have got to a point where they just can't talk to each other anymore. However, John Gottman's got loads of ways of getting past that. But it's good to look at these and think to yourself, okay, are any of these in my relationship? What can I do about those things? How can I turn it around? And you definitely can. I'm going to move on to that. So the first thing is, and this again is from John Gottman, is enhance your love maps, keep connected. And the love is something that's every day. We talk about romance, but romance really is just the icing on the cake. It's the everyday stuff that makes a difference. So when I talk about enhancing your love maps, it's about the little things that you do every day, the little things that tell someone that you know them, taking the time to know them. So if you were to, again, there's some quizzes in this book that I love. So it actually asks the couple questions about what you know about each other. And it shows how much you know your partner. And it encourages you to enhance that love map by really knowing them, really wanting to know, being curious, keeping connected, talking to each other in a deeper way, enhancing it every day. Nurture your fondness and admiration, honor and respect. That's something that tends to go if we get too critical. Actually looking at what you like about your partner. What is it that you admire about them? What is it that you're fond of them? What do they do? Honor and respect. Appreciate what's great about them, because it's very easy to say what you don't like, especially if you've had an argument. But what do you actually like about them? What is it that attracted you to them? What is it that they have that you really admire and respect? So just fostering that way forwards. Turning towards each other instead of away, emotional engagement. What tends to happen if you allow the criticism and the cynicism in is when something happens, rather than turning towards your partner, you would turn away from them. So you don't share with them, you don't talk it out, you walk away, you leave them out in the cold, and then you become disengaged. Now, a really good way of changing that is to think about an emotional bank account. If you think about your love as an emotional bank account, like a piggy bank, and just by thinking about things you can do to build up the piggy bank, because you don't want the bank account to be in the red, you want it to be in the black. So little things like picking up their dry cleaning maybe, or giving them a call because you knew they had a meeting that day they were worried about, just giving them a call and saying, how did it go? Making a meal, doing the washing up, anything like that. Everyday things. Again, it's always the everyday things, building up that emotional bank account. And the more you stay in the black, the more you put into that emotional bank account, when there are tough times, your bank account will be so big that it will be okay, because you're stable. You've got that reliable foundation that you can build on. Whereas if you're in the red, it's on dodgy ground. So think about that every day. What can I do to build up the emotional bank account? Let your partner influence you, searching for common ground. Well, I don't like to say this because we do have Jeff here, but apparently, according to John Gottman, not me, men are less inclined to be influenced by their partner than women. However, it does work the other way. Now, what it doesn't mean doing everything that your partner says. That's not influence. That's very different. But just listening to them and taking a bit of what they say and running with it, just respecting it and taking it on board, because it's very easy to shut it out and not be influenced. But actually being influenced is a good thing. Just listening and taking on board some of it, finding somewhere that you meet, some common ground is a good thing. So allow that to happen. Resolved or perpetual challenges. Okay, so sometimes there's challenges that you can resolve, and there's some that will keep coming back. The important thing, some that you can resolve, great, you can work them out and you can move on from them, but there will be ones that come back because it's set in your values and you're different people. So it's more about being smart about it and accepting your partner's personality, because it's part of their personality, it's part of who they are. So understanding who they are and working away, it's about building a bridge and finding a way to, I don't like to say compromise, I always find a bridge and sort of negotiate a win-win, because if it's a win-lose, it's not going to work. It's got to be a win-win. So just finding ways to get past those perpetual challenges that keep coming up and managing them, because they are part of who you are, and it's about accepting and acknowledging your partner and who they are. But also recognizing your own part and perception, which is something perhaps we're not always good at. Perhaps we're quite good at saying, oh yeah, he did that, and you know, she said that, and it was their fault. But when you can step back and say, okay, what was my part in that? What was it that I could have done differently? Is a really smart way of doing things. And once you've done that, also looking at the fact it's your perception of what went on. Now, there's a very good NLP technique that I love called Perceptual Positions, and this is very much similar to that. Sometimes it's a good thing to look at a situation that you've been in. So maybe you've had a row, and you look at it from your point of view, first of all. Obviously, you're probably feeling upset about what's gone on. You may be blaming your partner. But if you can step out of yourself for a moment and step into where your partner is and really take on board their position, see it through their eyes, hear it through their ears, feel it through their feelings, and really get a sense of how it feels from their point of view. Now, it's not about condoning it. This is about understanding. And when you can understand, you can communicate more effectively. So just feel how it feels from their point of view. Once you've done that, you can literally physically do it. And I do that with clients where I'll get them to stand on pieces of paper. So one paper will say their name, the other piece of paper will say the other person's name. And I get them to stand in that person, really taking on board their physiology, the way they think, their perceptions, their values. And it really helps them to understand that person. Once you've done that, there's another position, which I call the camera or the fly on the wall. And I will get them to stand on that piece of paper. Now, from that point of view, if you're a camera, you don't feel emotions. So you can actually take the emotions out and just look at what is being seen and heard. That's all the camera picks up. And I will get the client to go through what is seen and heard from that point of view. Now, it's not easy because they'll keep saying, well, she looks upset. Well, no, she doesn't look upset. You can't, that's a perception. She's frowning, you can see that. She's crying, you can see that. You can't see an emotion. So it helps a client or anybody to understand how much perception is in their position and their partner's position. As soon as you take that camera position, it's a very different view because all you can do is see and hear. And what you do then is you take back what you've learned from those two positions to your position. And what will happen is you'll say, okay, I can see that really differently now. I begin to understand where this person's coming from. I understand how much perception was in that situation. And I can now react differently to this because of that understanding. It's a really useful thing to recognize your part and the perception that you've taken to it. The next one is soft startup, harsh startup. Like I said before, complain, don't criticize. So a soft startup, so if you've got an issue with your partner, a soft startup might be, oh, it would be really nice if you spent some time with me tonight. I really miss spending time with you. Yeah, it's quite nice. Harsh startup. You never spend time with me. You're really selfish. Yeah, big difference. You're going to get very different reaction. So always, if you've got an issue, think about how you bring it to the forefront, how you bring it to the attention of your partner, what you're going to say. Words are really important. Think about how you're going to introduce that. Emotional flooding. Now, emotional flooding, we all know about fight, flight, and freeze. Well, that's what emotional flooding is. So if you've had an argument with your partner, you get to a point where you will flood with emotion and you will not make any sense. You will not say anything constructive, and you may as well walk away. Take at least 20 minutes, because that's how long it takes for the whole system to calm down. While you're doing that, if you want to come back and sort it out, it's better to just do something really calming and relaxing, like a bit of meditation, some nice music, because if you sit there brewing on it for 20 minutes, back and do the same thing. So take time out. If you know you're emotionally flooding, if you know the next thing you're going to say is not going to land well and it's not going to help you, take 20 minutes out. Just say to your partner, do you know what? It's not going to get any better from here. I need to walk away from this and I'll come back and we'll talk about it. Much better idea. Take 20 minutes, do something that calms you down. While what you can do is list the aspects of the current challenges. So especially if it's a perpetual issue, a perpetual challenge, what are the things that are negotiable and those that are not? And if you draw yourself 2 circles, so it's a really good exercise to do. You do a circle in the middle and then a big circle. And the idea is you put the things in the middle that are negotiable, the things that you will negotiate on. And then on the outside, the things that aren't. But the idea is to put more in the middle that you are negotiable on, and those on the outside, not so many. But it gives an idea of boundaries for a start. You're actually saying what your boundaries are. And quite honestly, a lot of the time we don't tell our partners what our boundaries are. But by doing that, you can find a bridge. By having things in that center circle that are negotiable, you can find a bridge. You can find a way of moving forward and managing whatever perpetual issue you're dealing with. And the last one on this page is respect each other's dreams. So important. If we respect each other's dreams, even if they're not our dreams, if we help the other one to get to those dreams or work towards those dreams, it's a very supportive and loving thing to do. You know, it might be something that you think, what on earth would they want to do that for? But it's not your dream, it's theirs. But if you each are respectful of each other's dreams and really understand that it's important to the other person, it's a really supportive, loving thing to do. Okay. So, love is a life force. It is. It's literally that. Love is our life force. I actually think if we don't feel love, we're just going to crumble away, because love is the energy that we feel inside, and depending on how much love we feel as to how high our vibration is. Do you limit how much love and light you allow in? It sounds odd, because surely everyone wants to be loved, but sometimes we don't feel we deserve it unconsciously. I think everyone consciously thinks they do, but unconsciously we may not. So we may not allow it in. We even sabotage it. You know, someone gets too close and it's all going too well, and we sabotage it because we don't think we deserve it. Now, letting love in to work through you. So when you allow love in, it's so much easier than to give love. It works through you. And love is a gauge. It's a gauge in our life that indicates the health of our life force. So again, go back to that frequency. Okay, energy exercises. So I've just listed them here, and then we're going to go through them. So I don't expect you to know what they are. we're going to do these exercises. Now, I'm going to have to stand up and hope that you can see what I'm doing. I will explain them as I go. Now, I'll just explain who Donna Eden is. Donna Eden is an American lady who had MS in her 20s. And she also had allergies to pretty much everything. And the doctors basically didn't know what to do with her. And they eventually said, you're just going to have to go away and manage it. Fortunately for Donna, she could see energy. She'd been brought up with energy. She understood energy. So she worked out some amazing ways of getting herself healthy. And I'm very glad to say, I think she's in her 70s now, but she doesn't look it. Constantly smiles, constant beam on her face, just a beautiful soul. And she doesn't have MS. She has no allergies, very vibrant lady. So I was lucky enough to do an online course. Never met her in person, unfortunately, but she's amazing. And what she teaches is truly amazing. So these are what we're going to go through, all these exercises. And what these are designed to do is to allow you to let go of pent up emotion and to process stress and calm your emotions down. So if you were to have a challenge with your partner or with a friend, doesn't really matter. These are a great way to calm your whole energy system down so that you can actually sort out whatever the challenge is. Okay, so that's just my last page. I think you all know who I am anyway. So I'm going to stop sharing and we can do the exercises. Okay. Oh, I can see you all again. Yay. Okay, so I'm going to stand up in my little room. I'll move this round. Okay, so it's easier to stand. And if you want to stand, feel free. So the energy, we're going to start with something she calls the Four Thumps. Now, this is a little bit like EFT because it uses certain places that you tap with EFT. So the first one is here. We'll tap on those. That's the stomach. Okay. And the next one is here. Just below the collarbone, that's the kidneys. The next one is the thymus in the middle there. Yeah. The last one, spleen or pancreas under the arms. If you've got your bras on, girls, it's there. Sorry, Jeff, but that's where it is. So that's the Four Thumps. The next one's called the Blowout. Now, this is about letting go of emotion. So if you've had an argument with anybody, really, this is a really good way of getting rid of it. So you bring your hands up to fists here. Yeah. Then you pull them back and up. So they're still fists. Okay. And you're going to bring them right down in front of you with force. And you're going to blow out through your lips. And when your hands get to the bottom, you open your hands. Okay. Okay, then we're going to do it again. So we do it a few times. Really gets rid of stress. And again. Last time. And we're going to do it slowly as to end. So just slowly bring up. And gently down. And open your hands. Okay, so that's the blowout. After that, we're going to do the zip up. So the zip up, again, it's not easy to show you, but if you put your hands at your navel, either side of your navel, you can get that. Yeah. And then you literally zip up the central line to your bottom lip. Yeah, and lock it. Throw away the key. Okay, that's protecting your energy. That's a zip up. Some of these are in her 5-minute daily routine that I do, but these are specifically for letting go of stress. The next one's the hook up. So finger in the belly button, finger on the third eye. You pull up a little bit and you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth 4 times. Okay, so that's the hook up. The crossover shoulder pull. When our energy doesn't cross over, it's not good. It's supposed to cross. Everything's supposed to cross. It's like left brain to right. That's how it works. So the cross shoulder pull is you actually hold your shoulder quite tight, and then you pull it across your body down to your waist. And then you do the other way. You do it about 4 times. You're just getting your energy to go the right way. And even for the girls, although I don't know, Jeff, maybe you have a handbag. I don't know. Don't want to judge. But even wearing a handbag can put your energy out of alignment. So this puts it back in alignment. Okay, so that's the cross shoulder pull. The next one's the crown pull, which I normally do after the Wayne Cook posture, but she does it differently in this one. So the crown pull is you start at your forehead and you just pull about an inch, and then you move your hands again, and you just keep moving your hands over your head about an inch each time. This is very good for headaches and for concentrating. So let's go with a lot of stress. And you work your way right the way down the back of your head, right the way down until you get to your neck. Okay, and when you get to your neck, just come across your heart and cross, just because it's nice. Okay, that's that one. So the next one, oh, the stress release hold. Oh, this is really, oh, good yawning, Suzanne. This is really good for, again, pent up stress in the head and headaches. So you put one hand at the back of your head like this, and you put one hand at the front. And you just breathe easily. It's really good for letting go of stress. Excellent. Now you could do that for a few minutes if you were doing it, if you'd, feeling really stressed, you could do that for a few minutes. The next one is the Wayne Cook posture. Now, the Wayne Cook posture was invented by Wayne Cook, and it's very good for dyslexic, dyspraxic, ADHD, autism, all sorts of things. But for those who aren't, it helps to concentrate and focus, and apparently also very good for the immune system. I know that Donna Eden uses it. If she gets a bit sniffly, she'll do the Wayne Cook posture. So I'm going to explain it to you because you cannot see the whole of me. So first thing you do is you cross over your feet at the ankles. And whatever way you're crossing over your feet, you do the opposite with your arms. So if your right leg's over your left, then put your left over your right. Then you clasp your hands and you bring it in. Well, this is very similar to something, Jeff was on a course with me, Psych K, and it's very similar to the whole brain method in Psych K. So probably quite familiar with it. Now, once you've done that, you breathe in and out 4 times, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Well, some good yawning going on there, Val. Once you've done 4, you swap. So swap your ankle over and swap your hands. And you pull in and you do the same thing. Okay. And the next one is the cross crawl. Again, this is about crossing your energy. So it's the opposite hand to the opposite knee. And Donna Eden always says swing your arms because you're crossing over your body. So just a few of those gets your energy crossing properly. Excellent. Okay, the connecting heaven and earth, and probably a lot of you will probably know this one. It's really good to do. And if you've had a disagreement with your partner, doing it opposite each other is a really good thing. If you still want to be in the same room as them, that is, obviously. But if you've calmed down by now, you might want to be in the same room as them, so it's okay. So what you do is you bring your hand, you inhale as you bring your hands out, exhale as you bring them to your heart. Okay, and then you inhale as one hand goes up, the other hand goes down. Now that up hand goes that way and the down hand goes that way. So you're pushing up and pushing down. And then you, as you're comfortable to breathe, exhale, bring your hands back together. And then inhale and do the other way. Exhale as you come back. Inhale as you go up. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And once you've done that, you bend forward towards your toes and bend your knees. I can't do it because I can't talk to you, but if you bend forwards over with your head towards your feet, bend your knees and just take 2 deep breaths. While you're there, once you've done that, gradually roll your way back up. Okay, and just roll your shoulders back. When you get back up to the top, roll your shoulders back, just releasing any tension that's left. Excellent. Now, assuming by this point that you're quite happy to go back and speak to your partner and everything is okay, the spinal flush is a really good thing to do. I'll explain it. I can sit down for this because I can't do it. I'll explain it. So the spinal flush, if you get your partner to stand, they can sort of put their hands against the walls because they need to stop themselves falling. And you literally massage each side of the spine in little circles from the neck. Check what sort of tension they like. Some will like that harder than others. And you go right from the neck, right down to the sacral in little circles. And once you've done that, you can flush it through by just tracing your hands down the spine and flushing it through. It gets rid of a lot of tension. It's a really good exercise to do. And obviously it builds back your relationship because you're working with each other. So do it for each other. And the last one is to attune to partner's viewpoint. So once you've done all this and you're back in the room and everything's going okay, attune to your partner's viewpoint, repair the bond. So use some of the tools that I talked about to get back talking and listening and working it out. So I hope you've enjoyed my talk about love on Valentine's Day and that you've gleaned some tools to use when challenges arise. Thank you very much for listening. Any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Karen. That was great. It's interesting seeing the different things that you could use with different people. With young children as well, these work really well, don't they?
They do. Yeah. Children are really good with
ones as well when you want to get them back in the zone.
Yeah, absolutely. Children are more open to it too.
Yeah. Really interesting. Does anyone have any questions for Karen?
Just a little comment from me. The 5 Languages of Love, I've definitely got that book and found it incredibly useful. It just gets you to talk to your partner as well and kind of work out what's right for you and what's right for them. So even just the conversation is useful. Yeah, definitely. And the guy in the book, Gary Chapman, who wrote the book, his personal experience was that he had a girlfriend. His way of loving was physical touch, and he massaged her and she froze. Because she'd had a bad experience, but of course he was just given love how he thought, but it really wasn't the way she wanted love. So it's really important to know. And even if you've been together for years, I mean, I didn't find this till I know about 5-6 years ago, I think, and I've been with my husband for 30 odd years. So
just working out, oh right, that's why I like that and he doesn't. It's like and just explaining to him and saying, this is why, this is what makes me feel loved. You know, and that's the question. Ask your partner what makes you feel loved.
Yeah, no, it's really useful.
Yeah.
And I love those exercises at the end.
The Donna Eden.
They're really nice. Yeah.
I love Donna Eden. She's fab. If look up Donna Eden, if people don't know, she's really, really good. There's quite a bit online, and she's got a couple of books. So her book is Energies of Love. That's one of them.
Energies of Love.
Yeah, so that is all about relationships, and all the exercises are in there. Great book. And it also tells you your stress style. So there's different stress styles. So you may be like, I tend to be auditory, you know, people are kinesthetic, visual, but I change to tonal when I'm stressed. So that means that when how someone talks to me, the tone of voice affects me. So, you know, it changes. So it's interesting, again, to work out what your partner is when they're stressed. And there's some really good descriptions. You can read them and go, oh, yeah, that's me, or that's them, you know, and you think, oh, well, they go, that's why they're like that. And it's just really fascinating to work out. So, yeah, it's another one I really recommend.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I find I get really I get triggered by tone, especially with my daughter sometimes, and trying to explain to her. And she said, well, I didn't say X, Y, Z. And I'm just like, well, you didn't really need to. You need to listen to how you're actually saying it. It's the intent and the feeling behind it for me is more than the actual words. But, and then she just says, well, I'm 16, I'm a teenager, so give me a break. I'm like, well, fair enough, but somewhere you need to learn to meet in the middle so you can at least have a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, get her to do any exercises at 16 would be a big no. But the language is important.
It is.
And catching myself doing it as well, because I get really sarcastic.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's reflecting on yourself, seeing what you're doing. Because I do think a lot of the time we do look at our partner and go, oh, he did that or she did that or whatever. And we don't step back and go, well, actually, yeah, I did that, didn't I? Yeah. You know, and just taking it on board, and it's not blaming yourself. It's saying, oh, I'm responsible. Okay, that means I can change it. It's actually a power position, I think. Yeah,
knowing especially as energy practitioners, as a lot of us here are, is that you can feel it, and everybody can feel it, even if they're not conscious that they can feel it. They can feel it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You can. And the thing with tone is what I find, what I found with NLP, and we were taught this in NLP, is when you look at the communication circle, actually the impact of words is only 7% of that. Tone is a massive part of that. So, I mean, you can say hello about 28 different ways. Do you know what I mean? Hello, you know, it's very different, isn't it, than hello? So, yeah, it's all about tone, and we don't always think about it. You know, it's
important, isn't it? Like my daughter go, well, I only said hello, or I only said whatever, and I'm just like, but this is how you said it. Sometimes mirroring it back, but then now she'll do that to me as well, and I'm like, okay, fair enough. I can see that, I can take it, that's fine. So
that's what I mean. I mean, this isn't just about partners, it's about how we relate to anybody. If we relate with love, you know, it's a much better position to be in.
Yeah, the feeling always goes out before anything else anyway, doesn't it?
It does, definitely.
Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions? Caroline, did you want to?
Yeah, well, I was going to say there's a couple of things there, because I'm thinking, God, I have no idea what my type is, so I really need to get that book.
Get the book, yeah. I don't get a share of it, just so you know.
No. there was two things for me that stood out, so that wasn't one of them. I'm thinking I need to work that out myself. But what was really good is sometimes when you try and take a step back and see it from somebody else's perspective, sometimes you're a bit too cross or in the moment to do it. But taking yourself to that camera position, I thought, that's really good, because sometimes you just can't see things from other people's perspectives because you're too blocked or too caught up in the moment. So that was a really, really good one. And then the other ones I've forgotten, but it was something. Oh gosh, it will come back to me, I'm sure.
What you can do with the perceptual positions is, if something's happening at the time, step away from it, give yourself 20 minutes, then try and do the perceptual positions. So you've calmed down. So the camera will always calm you down. But as you say, if you're in the moment, you may not want to step in their shoes because you're judging them and you're feeling rubbish and you don't want to. But, you know, after a period of time, you might think, yeah, actually, I'd like to see this from another point of view, and then do it, then try it on, see how it feels.
And then I've just remembered what the other one was, which was really lovely because I was almost quite tearful at the very beginning, was the way that you think that you should have this romance and this romantic connection through the whole of your relationship.
Yeah.
And then when you actually kind of go, actually, you know what, it's much deeper than that. So no, we're not falling over each other, you know. It's like, is it Valentine's Day? Is it? I don't know. Like, well, it doesn't really matter anyway, because that's just a gesture for commercialism. But
yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of validating actually what love means to you at different parts of your relationship. And when you know, your children at certain ages or things are going, and it's kind of like, it's lovely the way that you can kind of go, okay, yeah, let's recontextualize this, that it's not all hearts and flowers.
No,
actually it's those little things, like you say, just going for that walk and having time just to chat about, I don't know, nothing really.
It's staying connected.
Yes,
it's the small things, it's the everyday things, and that's what John Gottman talks about a lot, is all the small things that you do in everyday life is what builds the relationship. You know, yeah, the flowers and stuff are nice, but they're not the things that build the relationship. They don't sustain it. So just staying connected and genuinely being interested in your partner, you know, that respect and appreciation, that fondness, you know, that nurturing that. And something I like that he says quite a bit is about a repair, which I didn't really talk about because there's lots in that book, but repairing things. So if you keep connected, if you do have disagreements, but you're connected, you'll see a repair attempt. So your partner might do something silly to break the mood and make you laugh, and it's repaired. Whereas if you're not connected, you won't see that repair because you're so annoyed. You know, it's just annoying you and that's it. So, you know, keeping connected allows you to make that repair and keep coming back to each other, keep staying connected.
Yeah. Lovely.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
Can I just say something? And that was, you're not going to believe this, but I was looking through Donna Eden's book yesterday. It's not the love energies. I have got that.
Oh, the other one.
The other one. And I was thinking, hang on, cross-call, what? I was trying to work them out and I was really getting into a muddle. So thank you for that, because it's literally, I've literally got the book by my bed and I was trying it yesterday and I just couldn't quite work out what she meant. So that was brilliant. Thank you very much. Yes.
You're welcome. I'm glad that you all followed it, because it'd be easier if everyone could see the whole of me, but you can't. But hopefully it was explanatory enough.
Yes, yeah, no, that was great. I just thought how ironic that I was looking through and I said I must get out the Love Energies book, because as I said, what I was doing was in the Energies book. But thank you.
Yeah, Love Energies is brilliant. It's really worth reading.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks
very much.
Val, were you wanting to? Oh gosh, Gosha.
Just wanted to say, like Karen mentioned about that the words are not as important as the tone of the voice. And this is how we can probably all see how many fallouts there are over text messages and WhatsApps and Telegram, because very often people take the tone in a moment how they feel. So if someone is very upset can read something and it's so hard to repair it. I've just heard of something at work, like a CEO and an investor fell out over a WhatsApp text, and they read each other's messages completely irrelevantly according to how they felt. And it's kind of pretty much unrepairable. And it's quite sad. So yeah, it's so very important about the tone. And even how we write it and how we receive it as well.
Yeah, and how we send it. I mean, I think we've all probably written angry emails, and my thing is, if I'm angry about something, I'll type an email and then I walk away from it, and then I'll come back and I'll retype it, and then I'll get someone to read it, and then I'll change it again until I can feel better about it, and then I'll send it, and it usually gets the point. But never send an angry email or a text.
Absolutely. And thank you for the presentation. It has been lovely. Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome. Thank you.
I think sometimes an angry text, but not sending it, is sometimes quite cathartic. But then you've got to make sure you
Don't send it. Yeah, don't send it.
Don't send it to the wrong person.
No. And it's not to say words aren't important, because we know their vibration, but, you know, coupled with the tone, you know, it makes a big difference. And when you do emails and texts, like Gosha said, it's the person's intent that comes through, or the person who's receiving it is how they feel at that moment as to how they take it. And I've read things before where someone else will say to me, I mean, Tasha's done it with me, my daughter, say, oh, look at this text, that's terrible. And I'll read it, I say, well, what's bad about it? And, you know, it's get her to recognize actually you're reading it because you're upset, you don't really like these people, they're annoying you, but actually that reads perfectly fine to me. So yeah, stepping back, take the emotion out.
Wow, were you wanting to come off mute just now? Yeah, I think you were.
No, it was just to say that you can do online tests to test the love languages that are the most relevant to you.
Oh, okay.
In case you want to do it quickly before you get the book or something.
Yeah, do it online.
Good idea.
Really, really useful. It really, anything that helps you understand you and the person or people in your life is helpful.
There is a really nice lady that teaches the Donna Eden stuff up at Harry Edwards, actually.
Oh, is there?
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've met her a couple of times. She's really nice. I've got a big pile of manuals of Donna Eden's and I haven't looked at them properly, so I think I might now.
Yeah, she's great. She really is. Amazing lady with amazing techniques. And her two daughters, I think, work with her as well as her husband, don't they? So
yeah, and if it's some of it's similar to Body Talk and also Psych K, they all cross over a little bit.
It's similar to Psych K, the Wayne Cook posture, and we also use the cross crawl.
Yeah,
in Psych K.
Yeah, kinesiology as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all about being whole-brained.
Similar thing.
Yeah, which, you know, that's what you need, is to be whole-brained rather than running on the left or the right.
Yeah,
which also goes with the Donna Eden idea of what stress language you are. So digitals, for instance, end up like robots because they're very left-brained, so they get stressed, they go into their left brain, and they're very robotic, and you won't get much answer out of them or no emotion out of them, you know, whereas the kinesthetic ones are going to go completely into right brain and meltdown. So yeah, it's really interesting. But if you can get whole brain, then you can get back to using both parts of your brain. It's much more useful.
And on a physical level as well, and this gets people working emotionally as a physical therapist, which, as you know, I've done for 20 years until recently.
Yeah,
getting people to do the cross-calling exercise and the brain exercises when they're doing rehab, because I've worked with a lot of people that have had strokes and you know, hip and knee operations and stuff, and trying to get them to rehabilitate their you know, their other side. The cross-calling is brilliant for that, and it also works on the emotional stuff at the same time, which with a lot of people you wouldn't get them to do that, because they think they're doing it for a physical reason. It's working for, you know, all the ways, which is just brilliant. So a lot of those are good for mental, emotional, physical. It's just does the whole thing, all of those kind of exercises.
Yeah, I mean, I use the Donna Eden 5-minute daily routine, which is quite a few of those all in together. There's it's most of those, but not all of them. But it gets you going in the morning. It gets you grounded. It gets you focused, clear. It's a really, really nice way. It gets your energy flowing properly. Start the day off well. And then, of course, I do my EFT as well. So
yeah, Yeah, we've all
yawning
got these
away
little
as well.
bags, haven't we? Which are great. You can just cross them all over, and I mean, you could be there for hours.
I know. You could. I usually do the EFT in the car. I don't advocate that because I don't want anyone suing me for crashing. But I usually got one hand on the steering wheel and I'm going like this, and I'll tap in. People stay away from you. It's really good. You know, they'll drive past you, going, "Oh my god," and leave you
Done
alone.
that with the cortices as well. Sometimes when I'm taking Maddie to school and she's having a wobble, I'm like, right, tap your cortices out, and she's driving along in the car doing a tapping. People,
Yeah.
it works.
Exactly. I don't care what people think. I just do it.
Yeah, fellow weirdos. It's much more interesting though, isn't it? Anyway, so
Yeah, definitely.
fabulous. Anyone else got anything to add or to ask? No? So you've all got lots of new exercises to do. Have you got I don't suppose was there diagrams of those exercises in the book?
There are. Yeah, there are. All of in the energies of love, or the other one.
It might be quite nice to have the pictures of them, maybe.
Yeah, there's diagrams in there. They're really good, actually. I'll see if I can
Mine now is what I can find.
Yeah, it's got diagrams of all of them. Some are better than others because obviously you've got the description as well on some of them, like connecting heaven and earth, whereas cross crawl's more obvious. But yeah, there are diagrams.
Yeah, that would be quite nice to have. A few slides, a few little activities for people to remember.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Look at us, all efficient and on time today.
No.
We've done well, haven't we? So thank you very much, Karen. That was really interesting. It's always good to remember from whatever perspective, whether it's a current relationship that you're going into, a new one with your children, with a friend, you know, like Gosha with, you know, the people at work. It's, you know, it's all about how you set your intention and what you're actually giving out of yourself, and then how you learn to love yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Especially like sometimes we can just, you know, some people spend their whole lives kind of deferring to someone else, and then when someone says, well, what do you like to do, they're like, don't actually really know. There's a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
What do you love? I don't know. What do you think? Well, I don't know, I'm asking you. Just go round and round in circles. What do you want to do? Well, I don't know, what do you want to do? Goes on and on.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice to remember.
Yeah.
To be your own Valentine.
Yeah. Self-love.
I bet you Faye's going to have a lovely bath now with candles and stuff like that. Yes, and a book. Am I right?
You know me too well. Yeah. maybe a little cry.
You're allowed. A little cry and a release. Might do the same thing actually. That's lovely. So we're good.
Yeah, I think we're done, aren't we?
Yeah, we're done. So go and enjoy the rest of the evening. Let's just see if there's any messages here. Thank you, Rosemary. Karen, wishing everybody happy Valentine's Day.
Nice.
Okie dokie. So we'll see you all in 2 weeks. Our next guest speaker is going to be Julia Woodham, who teaches Ayurvedic practice and yoga, mindfulness, and a few other bits and pieces. I'm not sure what she's going to present next time. But that will be in 2 weeks' time, because she hasn't done a presentation for over a year either, has she?
No, it's definitely over a year. Yeah.
Yes, that'd be nice to, so you know, from different people here watching as well, which is good.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you for coming.
Soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks a million. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. See you later.
See you.
See ya. Bye.